Releasing semi-secretly within Map Pack 1 for World at War on March 19, 2009, Verrückt was the second map in the new Nazi Zombies game mode. Now I say semi-secretly because no one knew for sure if this game mode was coming back, and that the trailer for this map pack didn't even reveal this map until the very end, which was a surprise to the viewers. But of course, the biggest takeaway from this map simply existing was the confirmation that this new Nazi Zombies mode that originally wasn't supposed to be in the game was now not just a simple one-off experiment, but instead a fully integrated part of the game. Now for some information about the map itself. Verrückt, or Insane in English, takes place in an abandoned insane asylum that has become overrun with Nazi undead. In this map, you will have new ways to retaliate against their attack and survive, as well as some new hurdles to overcome. So with that all out of the way, that just leaves us with the question of how good is the first map the Treyarch team made with full creative control? Let's find out. Your squad of Marines have been sent to the Wittenau Sanatorium to extract fellow Marine Peter McCain to safety. But unfortunately, upon your arrival at the asylum, instead of finding him, you rather find your team trapped within as huge hordes of Nazi zombies hungry for your flesh attack. The characters are 4 generic Marines, but this time they can talk and they have names. These 4 men are Tank Dempsey, John Banana, Smokey, and Paxton Gunner Ridge. Despite this, they all act like the Marines did in the campaign, and because of this, they are basically all the same character, and I wouldn't be able to tell who's who if put on the spot. But I would still say that this is a step forward, even if the step taken was not that far. Despite taking place during the day, this map is still terrifying. The sun is completely blocked out by the smoke coming from the burning forest around you, which causes the map to be covered in a dimly lit orange and reddish tint. The asylum itself is run down with the remnants of the unspeakable horrors that happened there, as well as still housing the many screams and cries of the building's victims. The zombies do look different, but I think it's only because of the lighting difference, but their movement is significantly more aggressive looking. In my opinion, this is easily up there with Nocturne Toten as one of the scariest maps ever made. Overall, I would say that the map's layout as a whole can be essentially described as one big square with a few offshoots, but before I get into more detail about that, let's talk about what new things this map introduces. First is the power switch, which as it sounds is a big switch that turns on the power within the asylum and powers up to 2 new other things, which are the Perca-Cola drinks and traps. The perk drinks are all found in different parts of the asylum and each aid you by giving a unique boost to your soldier. The 4 perks that introduce us to this are Quick Revive Soda, which allows you to revive your teammates much faster, Double Tap Root Beer, which doubles your rate of fire, Juggernog, which increases your health, and Speed Cola, which allows you to reload quicker. Now don't expect to get all these at once, as they all have different prices ranging from 1500 points to 30,000 points. Placed on both balconies and both priced at 1000 points are the traps for the map. They shoot out pure electricity that burn the zombies that walk under it, but be careful because if you or any of your teammates go under the beams, it will result in an instant down unless you have the perk Juggernog. Next is the equipment known as Bouncing Betties that you could buy, use them, and get 2 more each round. The idea of the Betties is that you could place as many of them as you want in a corner, then back up into them if you're getting overwhelmed. New things to also mention is that the power-ups are now represented by icons as opposed to timers, and now nukes give you a free 400 point bonus when picked up. Finally, there is the mystery box, which is returning from Nocturne Toten, but this time with a new devious feature, which is when the box has been hit too many times, a teddy bear will appear instead of a weapon, which will force the box to disappear and reappear at a different part of the asylum. So with that all out of the way, let's talk about the general layout of the map and where all the new stuff is located. Let's start with the spawn rooms. Yes, you heard me correctly, I said rooms because this map separates your team into 2 halves or randomly spawns you in on either side when playing solo. In the left spawn room, you have less room to move around in and more windows to watch, but better weapons, and this is also the location of Juggernog. There are 3 small rooms all connected to the hallway with virtually no room to maneuver around, but to mitigate this, you have the accurate Kar 98K and the deadly Gruwer 43. Moving upstairs, you will come across 2 long hallways, one on the inside with an MP40, Bouncing Betties, and Double Tap, while the one on the outside holds the activation switch for the electric trap. Continuing along, you'll find yourself in the tight corners of the bathroom with probably the best wall weapon, the STG-44, as well as a special toilet, but more on that later. Immediately after this is the power room, which houses the power switch, the mystery box's first spawn location, as well as a staircase which leads to a small basement room. Resetting on the right spawn room, we have more maneuverability with 2 sizable rooms in a thin hallway. This is also the location of Quick Revive. The weapons are worse on this side as you're stuck with the average M1 Garand and the legendarily awful Springfield rifle, which is so bad that it can't even headshot zombies on round 1 with 1 bullet. This is weirdly compensated by the fact that there is a 750 point door that leads to a closet with a deployable bar in it for a hefty 2,500 points if you want to stick it out for longer to buy it, but I don't think it's worth it. The next area of the map is probably the most open, with virtually no clutter or debris to hinder your movement, with also one of the better weapons to get points with, the Thompson. After that, you'll be upstairs again in a small cramped room with an exit point to either the other outside balcony with the other electric trap or the speed cola room. In here, you'll find another deployable bar wall by, this side's Bouncing Betty's wall by, as well as a trench gun wall by. The speed cola room itself is just two rooms connected to each other with a door that leads into the kitchen, which then leads you back into the power room, completing the loop of the map. Now, before we move on to the next topic, if you have been paying attention, you would have noticed a neat pattern was emerging with all the wall weapons. Whether intentional or not, the left side of the asylum is completely comprised of German weapons, while the right side is full of American weapons. Just like the first map, there is not much to talk about here. The first Easter egg you could find is again related to music, just like the radio in Nacht der Untoten, but this time instead you have to flush a certain toilet 3 times to get it to play a song. Next are the numbers and what they mean. To be more specific, the numbers written all over the kitchen in blood and the numbers being broadcasted within the power room, which apparently read out the coordinates for future maps as well as Area 51. Finally, I'll give a little nod to the dentist chair in the left spawn room, because if you hold X on it, you'll hear a drill activate and a scream in the distance. So with the introduction of the perk system, insta-kill traps, and equipment, is this map easier than Nacht der Untoten? Not in the slightest. Despite having these new ways of surviving and a bigger map to move around in, I would argue that this map is actually not only harder than the previous map, but also the next two maps, making this map the hardest to survive in for World at War. This simply comes down to how small and cramped all the rooms and hallways are, making the only viable training option to open all the doors in the map and run around the whole lot. The camping strategies aren't much better because the best places to stay have virtually no way out, since they all have you either backed up against a wall or against doors that you don't want opened. An example of this is if you're camping at the end of the left balcony and if you get surrounded you have nowhere to turn to, or if you're camping in the speed cola room and need to make a break for it, you have to open the door, which will ruin that spot for the rest of the game. And let's not forget about the fact that you have to worry about all this plus the horrible zombie collision. For their first map, where the team at Treyarch had complete creative control, they decided to completely up the ante of what the music for this game mode would be by having an entire makeshift band record a song for this and every future map, as well as create a distinct jingle for just about every perk drink, which are always in different genres of music. First, let's talk about the perk jingles. Quick Revive has an awesome blues song that sings about how you need to pull yourself up despite the whole world dragging you down. Double Tap has a jaunty western jingle that tells you that cowboys can't shoot slow and if they need some help to reach for the root beer shelf. Juggernog has a trumpet-filled stock theme that tells you that when you need to feel big and strong, to reach for Juggernog tonight. And finally, Speed Cola tells you about how it will speed up your life to a salsa beat. Next, I want to quickly mention the sweet guitar riffs that now play every time someone gets the ray gun out of the box as a neat little indicator that someone has acquired the weapon. Now to go over the song of the map, Lullaby of a Dead Man. This song, despite playing at a very slow tempo and being kinda quiet, still manages to fit in with the action going on around it. Alina Sigmund kills it on vocals while Kevin Sherwood plays a masterful guitar. And of course, we finally come down to the Game Over song, which this time plays a snippet of The One. So in conclusion, how good is Treyarch's first map with full creative control? I would say it's great. By taking what worked in the previous map and adding on to it, changing the location to somewhere new, and going all out with the musical additions, they showed that they know what they needed to be added in order to top their previous work. Despite being hard as hell and still only having the survival aspects, this map is still one of the all-time greats. Personally, I think this map in particular is what started the snowball effect that eventually led to the classic maps later down the line, because Treyarch was now allowed to let their creativity flow as opposed to work in the shadows. Because of these reasons, I like to think of Verrückt as Treyarch's first real zombies map, but not as the one that started it all, but rather the one that really kicked the Nazi zombies game mode into high gear, which is something we still feel the effects of to this day. Thanks for watching.